In the world of gaming, this is one of the things that I really wish didn't happen. Ever since I've been playing games as, at least a teenager or preteen, Need for Speed has been one of the games that I always look forward to. I mean, even when the game came out on 3DO and I had a friend that had a 3DO, when Need for Speed came out on the PS1, I mean, and so on and so on, all the way up to now. Even with the not so popular, or in my opinion, not so popular, or if it is or whatever, Need for Speed Unbound. It's a game that I didn't really like that much, but now I really want it because Need for Speed is reportedly, hitting the brakes. Look like they're going to be finished for a while. And I have pretty much all of the Need for Speeds, except for like two. And Unbound is one of them. I'm gonna end up getting it because of this. Photographer for a car culture website funded by EA said that the publisher has shelved the Need for Speed franchise. Now, I don't know how true this is. This could be a rumor or whatever the case may be. But I would not be surprised. If you look at what's been going on uh with Nacon and the WRC series, that stuff that has been dropped by, with the whole Codemaster situation. Nacon is picking that back up. So WRC is not on the EA. Project Cars, another racing game that was made by Slightly Mad Studios. They were brought in by EA, and now that's gone. It's I wouldn't be surprised. And this is a really big blow. Now, one thing, Forza is one of those games that are kind of like going by the wayside. Turn 10 kind of shut half of their studio down and look like they're focused on Horizon. Now you're dealing with, this. With the Forza thing, I could deal with that because of, Gran Turismo. We talked about Project Motor Racing. We talked about other racings that are in the motorsport, genre is still alive and kicking. But Need for Speed kind of got away from itself ever since probably like Need for Speed Rivals, which is a game that I just recently picked up again, and I actually love the game. The cops and robbers running away from the cops, going too fast, breaking the speed limit, breaking speed zones, all that stuff. All that was great, and it kind of got away from it. It's not as prominent as it used to be. And that is the most disheartening thing about it because now we may never get another game like that. When I look at EA and what they did with the Need for Speed franchise, it was at one of the, top tier type of arcade races that was out there. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 is like a huge favorite. Need for Speed, 2010 was another one that was really good. Even Need for Speed Rivals. And a lot of people don't even like Need for Speed Undercover, but, that's a game that you can kind of appreciate for what it is now. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. I mean, do I need to even speak about that game? Even with the Shift series, the Pro Streets, all the other stuff. I mean, Need for Speed was kind of pretty, it was pretty good. I think after Rivals, it kind of lost its way. Need for Speed 2015, you had all these other ones that came out after that. Need for Speed Heat, Payback, and I don't know. Then you had Unbound, which I still think the game looks beautiful. Unbound looks great, but it's not a Need for Speed that I remember. And it's unfortunate we may not get that again, not through the Need for Speed franchise, because what they're saying here. Now, before I get out of here, I don't mind going through this article and just talk about it really quick. Basically, it's saying the Need for Speed franchise could be making its last laps, for at least for the time being. Matthew Everingham, a photographer who frequently contribute to the car culture website Speed Hunters, in a social media post saying that Electronic Arts has quietly, or well, shelved Need for Speed and is quietly parking the series. I mean, I don't really need to go into more of that. It's basically that's what it is. Like EA hasn't released an official statement or whatever the case may be. All we know that what EA has done, they shut down Need for Speed Rivals. They're going to shut it down in October. So that's a game I've been playing. You can look at one of my shorts. I talked about that game actually being played more because there's a couple of trophies that you may want to get, trophies that I want to get. I think I'm going to try to go for that. So if you want to check me out on PSN, you can check out my gamer tag or my PSN name. And I want to try to get those two trophies at least. But outside of that, man, it looks like everybody's moving over to the Battlefield franchise, leaving the core group. Only core group that's for it says, I'll just say this. The developer Criterion, I think I said that right, shifted most of his employees to focus on the Battlefield franchise only leaving the core group to continue working on the racing series in 2023. So that was all the way. That was 2 years ago. So from the way I look at it now, I don't think they're going to, have a game, that's coming out behind Unbound right now. So I think the Need for Speed, series is pretty much done for the time being, and I wouldn't be surprised if it may not even come back, and that's really unfortunate. Now, if it does come back, that'd be great. But like I said, if you look at what's been going on with the WRC series, you saw what happened, with the Project Cars group. Those guys pretty much was gone. They came back when they got bought out by EA, and you saw what happened there. They're not really into the racing side of things. I think EA is kind of giving it up. Now I know there's F1 out there. I think WRC is going to be dealing with F1, but in the F1 series, you really don't get like that. The Need for Speed side of things. That Need for Speed is very unique and is one of a kind. And yet again, EA has the Burnout series. Haven't heard anything about Burnout either. So now, like, we're looking at a bunch of franchises or a bunch of genres in the racing space, kind of going by the wayside. Now, for what I would say at this point, I think there's another company needs to come in and probably pick up this fashion of racing. This exotic cars, running from the cops, hot pursuits. Somebody needs to pick that up if EA is not going to do it. I don't even care if it's with generic cars. This is something that I would love to have back in the forefront, because, like I said, you really haven't had that type of game since like Need for Speed Rivals. That was 12 years ago. And that's a long time. So I'm looking at it now like, what's going to happen with the franchise? I don't know, man. We're probably looking at the death of another really prominent franchise that's been around, literally since 1994. The first title was on the original PlayStation, Sega Saturn. I think it was on 3DO or something like that as well. I can't remember. But I remember playing it on the 3DO, like one of my friends had it or whatever the case may be. But you're looking at a franchise is literally, 30 years old, 31 years old, and it's gone. And I know a lot of things, come to an end. It is what it is. But when you're talking about a game that is just so fun, when you play, Need for Speed, and you remember I remember the first time I really got into Need for Speed, it was like Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, the one on PlayStation 1. I thought that game was absolutely phenomenal to play and you actually ran from the cops, and you had to go through all these back, areas just to get away from the cops through shortcuts and stuff. And now, you see what Unbound is, and you're just like shaking your head like, man, what happened? I don't know, man. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm not sure that this franchise is done, but it sure looks like it. If all of their, most of their employees went over to play, help with Battlefield. I mean, that was in 2023. It's 2025, and we don't even know if there's another game coming out. I haven't heard anything. And, the only thing that we know is that EA is actually, shutting off the service for Rivals. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get up out of here. I appreciate y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night, day, or whenever you listen to this. I appreciate you for making it this far. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to get up out of here. All right, y'all. Peace.